I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard NOC Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color, you see me? The Hard NOC Life, comics, movies, and TV, yeah.
Welcome to Hard NOC Life. I'm Keith Chow.
I'm Britney Monet.
I'm Dominic Ma. Hello.
Hello, everybody. We are just one point in the multiverse, because the multiverse is a big fucking deal now. We have crossed over the Sonyverse, the Disneyverse, the Foxverse. I think it was, at this point, 6 years ago. I think there were rumors about, like, bullshit rumors at the time that Disney, Fox, and Sony would eventually cross over and do a secret war. Well, they would cross over, right? This was still, like, Andrew Garfield. This was still the X-Men. And I think I wrote a post on the Nerds of Color. It was like, wouldn't it be amazing if, like, they all crossed over and we'd had, like, secret wars? Well, guess what? We're old enough to the point where you either die a hero or you live long enough to have all of the corporate entities merge together to have a full-on Marvel universe. Anyway, long story short, spoilers if you have not seen Venom. Spoilers if you have not seen this week's episode of What If. If you haven't, shut off the podcast now.
If you're like some of us and just wanted to find out what the spoilers are, just go look them up on the internet. Also, it's full of them for context.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to turn the podcast over to you, Brittany, because of the three of us, only one of us has actually seen Venom. The rest of us have just read about Venom. So, talk about seeing the movie, the number one movie in the world right now, I think it broke the pandemic box office record of $90 million for a weekend. What can you tell us about Venom, Let There Be Carnage, before we get to the world-changing thing, right?
The spoiler stuff, yes. Well, as you guys have probably heard me talk about on here before, that Venom is a favorite of mine because I feel like it blends romance and comic book worlds very well. And I feel like the Venom Let There Be Carnage really, like, ups the ante with the romance.
And the romance is between Venom and Eddie, not Anne, right?
Well, I mean, they can totally be a throuple. I would be fine with that, honestly. But, yes, but there's also a really good romance story with Woody Harrelson's character.
Right, Carnage and Shriek.
Yes. So if you have not seen the movie, sorry if I'm totally spoil it.
Go for it.
Andy Serkis, oh my god, he really, I feel like, elevated the material from, like, what the first one was, or as a director. I feel like he just understood the assignment and was like, yeah, this is going to be a gay movie, let's have fun. Just because there's totally a scene where, like, Venom is, like, pretty much at, like, a rave or something, and as you've seen, like, some of the things, but he's like, Eddie wouldn't let me be out, and now I'm out, and you all love me, and they're like, someone else in the crowd is like, I love you, and he's like, yes, I love you too. And, and his, like, Venom voice. And it was so cute. But yeah, Woody Harrelson is, oh my god. He was really good. Crazy.
So much better than the post-credit stinger of the first Venom. Because I know that when we were introduced to Cletus at the end of the first Venom movie, I don't know, he looks weird. Like, he's got that bad wig on.
Yeah, he still kind of has a
Is it a much improved Woody Harrelson performance and from what we saw in the previous...
Oh yeah, I think because Andy Serkis took over, and I think he just was like, this is a ridiculous concept, like, embrace it. So, I don't know, it was really fun, and Andy Serkis is definitely just, like, one of my favorite people in the industry. So, yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and there's a scene where, Tom Hardy's in front of Naboo. Great stuff.
Naboo? Like, from Star Wars?
So some people don't know this, that one of the buildings that is used for Naboo is actually in San Francisco. It's like the arts something building, whatever. So he's actually standing in front of it, and I was like, is that Naboo? Like, watching it, and they use this in several movies and, like, commercials and stuff, so if you're ever like, why does this remind me of Star Wars? It's because San Francisco has a little Star Wars.
And then there's a scene where Eddie tells Venom, I hate sand.
Yes.
It's coarse, and it gets everywhere.
It's literally that, like, that balcony, like, area. Like, part of that is, I know some of it is Italy, and then some of it is actually, like, the place in San Francisco. So it's, like, a combination of both of the buildings.
Are you familiar, Dom? You're a Bay Area native.
Oh, yeah, I know what the building you're talking about. It might be the Palace of Fine Arts building.
I think so. It's, like...
It's a lovely place.
Pinkish.
Very Naboo-ish.
Yeah, it's Naboo, but there's just a whole thing with chickens in the movie, and
Chickens. Everyone loves chicken.
This is like spoiling the movie.
Yeah, go
entirely.
for it. 100% spoil the hell out of it.
Basically, like, Eddie and Venom kind of break up for a little bit, as I was alluding to with the rave scene. And so Eddie's like cleaning up the apartment, and Venom has chickens that he didn't eat these two because he named them Shunny and Cher. Sunny and Cher, and they're like best friends, and he didn't want to eat them because he likes them. Because, he's not. Eddie's trying to stop him from eating people. So he has him eat chickens, and he didn't want to eat those. Venom didn't want to eat those two particular chickens. So when he's like cleaning up the apartment, basically after they break up, he like drops the chickens off at Naboo, and yeah, that's like the whole scene. And he's like talking to the chickens. He's like, "I'm sorry, like I have to leave you here, and if you get eaten, something." So I don't know. It's really funny.
So when they break up, does the symbiote like start infecting other people, or can he exist on his own without a host?
No, he's like kind of living in different people's like bodies, and like it's sad because he's like kind of killing.
Right, because I thought Eddie, like the whole point is that Eddie's the only one who can like maintain Venom, because every time Venom, and at least in the first movie, like that was why they bonded.
It's the same concept, and like he keeps like going and like having to jump into other people, and like their whole breakup scene is really funny though. Like they're throwing stuff around in the apartment, and then Eddie picks up one of the chickens and is holding him out the window like he's gonna drop him, and then like Venom is holding his like TV, and he's like put it down, put the chicken down, and then it's just really funny. It was, I don't know, it was just good stuff. And like I said, Woody Harrelson is crazy. It was totally unplanned. I don't know if anyone saw my tweet, but like the first time I saw Naomi Harris in a movie was in Pirates of the Caribbean, and I somehow ended up in the same theater, same auditorium that I first saw her in a movie saying Venom, and I'm like, that's so weird.
How was she as Shriek?
She was really good. I kind of wish like we got a little bit more, but it was fun. I liked it. It was just a very, I don't know, if you like, I don't know, I just feel like it's very like what you would expect Andy Serkis to do with the movie and everything.
Is she named Mimi in the movie? I'm good. Is she named Mimi?
No.
What is that Shriek's real name in the comics?
Well, she used to be Screaming Mimi from the Super Wrestlers Foundation, and then she was Songbird, and then I think she was Shriek. Like, Black Canary-ish powers in the Marvel version. That's just what I remember.
Her name is something else. It's like Frances or something. Or her real name, at least. And
I do remember a lot of comics where, there's this whole thing about Eddie as Venom's true love.
Oh, he totally is.
Speak. So that's the only reason, that's why he keeps coming back, because it's all messed up. The symbiosis with other people is all messed up, but so it's always about Eddie, which is interesting, because Eddie, when he was originally introduced, was this muscle-bound lout. But anyway, so you're saying they lean into the queer guy love aspect of the symbiote.
Oh, yeah. He just really leaned into, like, no, it's a romance between Eddie and Venom. Maybe a throuple if Annie decides to, like, get back with Eddie. But, like, yeah, he really leans into the romance. And I like how, like, Cletus and Shriek's, like, romance, they kind of start off high, and then Eddie and Venom's goes down, and then they, like, do the reversal, basically. You see in the movie. For
me, that was always the thing about the symbiotes fighting each other, is that it seem so similar, and, they're of the same species. It seemed, kind of, like a spat with your sibling, or I'm not finding a good metaphor, but it's
right, because Carnage is a spawn of Venom in the comics too, right? Like that's how Cletus gets infected, is through Venom.
A lover's spat is basically what I always thought. There is some kind of thing.
He calls him father.
Oh,
Carnage,
a family spat then.
He's like, father, I'm gonna get you.
Does Tom Hardy do Venom's voice too? I mean, I think he does.
I know in the first one he did, but I think maybe someone else does it in this one, unless it's still Tom Hardy. But I don't know. It's just fun, and I like Mrs. Is her name Mrs. Chen?
The bodega lady. I guess they're not called bodegas in San Francisco, are they?
Eating Mrs. Chen? I don't know what they call them in San Francisco. They call them wine and cheese kiosks. Yeah, I like that joke in the ad where there's like, "Are we going to eat Mrs. Chen?" There's a lot of layers to that. But I don't know if they actually end up eating her.
No, they don't. But
good or good? I don't know.
It's good. No, basically there's a point where Venom ends up using Mrs. Chin, and like It's really funny. I don't know. There's some good stuff in there. And I like when they slap, is his name Dan? The guy that Annie's now with. Like, I don't know. That scene when they actually slap him is actually really funny when you see the whole thing. But yeah, no, it was a really good movie. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you're like me and loved the first one and loved the romance elements, they up it so much. And you have different romances to like be interested in. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. And that after credit scene.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Because I think there are people who maybe don't watch Venom and probably won't watch Morbius because they're MCU only stands, right? And if it's a Marvel movie that's not in the MCU, we don't give a shit. Well, apparently, the big after credit sequence in Venom officially brings Venom into the MCU. And this is something that... Oh, and another crossover that happens in the Prime movie, not in the after credits, is that Shriek uses the term mutation when she talks about her powers. And that word, mutation, has been a no-no in non-Fox Marvel movies. You cannot call superpowers mutations. And that was part of, like, the division between the Fox movies and all the other Marvel movies. So the fact that they're even calling it mutations, I think that's a big deal. That was probably a big Easter egg. Like, this is a different Sonyverse movie than previous. But the big one is at the end. So set it up. What happened? Like, you watch the credits, and at the end.
So in the end, basically, Venom and Eddie have to go on the run, and it ends. The movie ends with them sitting on a beach. Blah blah blah. Right, and it ends. You have the credits going, and then it's supposed to be them in this like it looks like a really like shabby kind of like hotel. Like they're obviously on the run, and they're watching some like telenovela where Venom says that's his favorite show, and then. I can't remember what exactly he says, but they get on the topic of, like, different... He's like, oh, there's, like, different universes. And Venom's like, I can show you all the different lives I've had or places I've been.
I can show you the world.
So, it's really funny because, like, he's about to, like, show him, something happens, which I don't know what. I have a couple of theories of what exactly happened in that moment. But basically then... They're in a different universe where the hotel room they're in looks really nice and fancy. And then there's a new breaking news, and it's a Daily Bugle. And as you know, it's the scene from the end of Far From Home, where, JJ is like, Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and, so it's that, right? Playing on the TV. And then, I guess Eddie turns into Venom, and he licks the TV, and he's like, oh, we have business with him.
Well, because they show Tom Holland. It's not even like they go from J.K. Simmons
Holland.
to Tom Holland as Spider-Man on the screen.
And then like Venom licks the like TV. He's like, we have business with him, And then like Eddie was like, oh, is that what you wanted to show me? And Venom's like, no, that wasn't like I didn't do that.
Right.
I don't know what happened. And then this other guy walks out of like the bathroom. He's like, oh, what are you doing in my room? Like, and that's kind of where like it ends. But yeah, so they got transported, and it's like what color was the light? It was like orange when it changed them over. So that's why I have a couple theories if it's connected to What If, or if it's connected to what Loki and Wanda were doing. So,
or even perhaps the Doctor Strange. Maybe this is taking place during No Way Home, and Doctor Strange is
The only thing though is it's right at the end of Far From Home.
Oh, that's true,
like,
because it's showing
when the announcement is happening.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, okay, whatever Loki and Wanda were doing, does that happen right in the moment as the announcement was being made? Who Spider-Man is in the MCU, or is it like because of like Ultron Vision on What If and him like hopping to the different universes, like did he break time as well? Like I don't know, that's what I'm trying to figure out exactly who's responsible for it, but someone's definitely responsible for the universes
colliding. So Dominic, I know that you've been speculating for a while now about even before the No Way Home trailer, like this pretty much confirms I think how Doc Ock and Green Goblin show up in the Spider-Man movie. Now, apparently, Venom may or may not show up in No Way Home. We have no confirmation either way. I did see recently Tom Hardy posted a selfie where he was wearing a No Way Home hat.
Yes.
Like the kinds of hats that they hand out on set. There's no official No Way Home merch out just yet, so...
Yeah.
That definitely upped the speculation that Tom Hardy was on set.
It said crew, and everyone was just like... oh, so everyone's like in this movie now. Like we knew, but like I think it's so funny that Andrew Garfield is like, I'm not in the movie, even though like he totally is in this movie.
Yeah, but he gave that interview where he said people might be disappointed, and I believe that means he's only in it for 2 seconds, while we may think he's in it for this big chunk.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with him being in it for like 2 seconds. I just know he's in the movie.
He just wants the fans to be fine with it too, because I bet it's fleeting. And okay, so J.K. Simmons, after all this, turns out to be the linking point of
the multiverse.
All these universes.
He's the Nexus character.
J. Jonah's news show ends up linking all these things.
I don't know exactly, because I don't know if they're going with like he's like, you know how sometimes you look the same in every universe, if that's what they're going with his JJ, and then like he might play the one from like the Toby universe. That I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't know that like him showing up on the dailybugle.net at the end of Far From Home was like a nod to the multiverse. I think that was just to your point. He is the bald J. Jonah Jameson is the MCU version of that character, right? But the Spider-Verse one, where he's wearing the fake wig, where he looks more like the comic book version, you know, maybe that's just kind of like how they differentiate. I don't think that like just because it's J.K. Simmons, that's the sign of the multiverse. But I do think that, I mean, clearly, you know, this is the breaking of the multiverse, because Sony, you know, Sony's finally gotten their wish. They're officially part of the MCU. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a permanent part of the MCU. Like, I think this is still leading to, ultimately, Sony's deal is we get Tom Holland back, and then he'll just be in like Spider-Verse movies, or who knows. I mean, at this point, it doesn't even matter. I think every fan is getting their wish right now, where you have the possibility now that there will be X-Men and Spider-Man and Avengers all in one movie. And I guess, Dominic, the question I wanted to ask you is that, as like a big Marvel stan, are you excited for this, or do you feel like maybe it's too much of a good thing?
I want to go back to something you said in passing, which is that Sony's making all these villain movies that no one cares about. I specifically don't care too much about Venom or Morbius. I know lots of people like Venom. That's fine. He's just not my particular thing. I'd be into it if it was like a Scorpion movie or a Dr. Octopus movie.
I mean, they're planning a Kraven movie with Quicksilver playing Kraven.
Right, again, which is weird. although Kraven is one of those characters who was stupid in the comics, but would be great in the movie. So maybe they know something I don't. And I guess what they really found out is that Venom made tons of money. So of course they wanted to try to incorporate him into everything. Although I don't know how. I mean, maybe he's the sixth, villain dude in No Way Home. That's fully possible. But they got to introduce some more spider folk to like offset all the villains they get. The Spider-Verse is only going to happen if they get in a Spider-Woman or another, or a Silk, or Spider-Gwen or something, because they're just introducing all these villains left and right.
But there's some speculation I've been reading about Venom's involvement in No Way Home. If he's in No Way Home, he may not be the Sinister Sixth. He may be the Lethal Protector, because they've been leaning into like the anti-hero version of Venom in the movies. So that perhaps 100%. If he's actually in the Spider-Man movie, maybe it's the three Spider-Men and Venom teaming up against the other Sinister Six, potentially.
I think so, just because they're like, we're heroes. Like Eddie was saying, like, I mean, Venom was saying that, whoa, we're heroes and stuff. And then he's like, are we going to get a cape and a mask? And then Eddie was like, we don't need a cape and a mask, buddy. Like... Like, you're the cape and the mask. Like, I don't know. Right. It was a really funny scene that, like, when he brings that up. So I think that they are definitely going to end up being, I think, on Spidey's team, even though right now, that's why I feel like he might be the same symbiote from the Toby movies. Just because he said, like, oh, we've been in different universes.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in different universes and stuff. And then as soon as he sees Spider-Man, he's like, oh.
That guy.
Like, that guy. Yeah, even though it's a different one, he's like, So I feel like it's going to start off maybe antagonistic, but then he's going to end up, like, realizing that he has nothing against this version of, at least Tom's. So
I think story-wise, it's interesting that would actually serve Sony's ultimate goal, if their goal is to differentiate Spider-Verse and get it fully out of having to be connected to the Marvel Universe. Because as you mentioned earlier, the way they get into the subject is Venom is like this interstellar traveler. You know, he's been all throughout the universe. The Spider-Verse is kind of isolated because, you know, the MCU Spider-Man has been attached to some guy with a lot of resources, Iron Man. Now, Doctor Strange. He needs like a portal into the bigger world, or he's just a guy swinging around New York, right? So, in a way, if the Sony, like, just sort of harsh plan is, you know, get rid of all the MCU guys somehow. We're left with Spider-Man. We need him some sort of mentor who has some sort of cosmic or mystical access to bigger stories, and who knows, it might be Venom.
Venom will be the Iron Man of the Spider-Verse. Essentially.
He'll be Uncle Venom, so to speak, and they'll travel around to like the symbiote worlds and all these different alternate futures that Venom's been to, while, you know, chasing his true love for Eddie. Maybe that just becomes the core story of the Spider-Verse entirely. It's just Venom chasing Eddie forever.
That's the other big difference between the comics, is that I think Eddie is a more likable character in the movies. Like, you know, he's Tom Hardy, he's charismatic and he's sympathetic. Whereas Eddie Brock in the comics is a lughead, you know.
Yeah, Tom Hardy brings a lot to that, and he could do more, clearly.
Yeah, but also I have a theory about, I don't know if I talked about it before, Emma Stone, because she's one of the people who was said to have been filming, but she died, so I feel like she's playing a Spider-Gwen.
No, you really think Spider-Gwen will be in it too? Wow. That's
the
awesome.
only reason, because I'm
think
like,
that's just
okay,
a
because
rumor. It's a good rumor.
Okay, because when they were all announced to be working on a secret project, they were like Emma Stone, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Kristen Dunst have all pulled out of different projects that they were working on to go work on a secret project. I'm like, it's Spider-Man. What else are they? All of them at the same time? Like, why else would they be going on a secret project all at the same time? It's Spider-Man. So, and then I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute, she's dead though. So
but then
she has
everyone
to
else
be...
is dead too, right? Because Green Goblin and Doc Ock are dead, but they're showing up in No Way Home.
Maybe. But I just feel like it would be smarter to have her be Spider-Gwen from a different universe. And, you know, yeah.
It would be a great shot.
And then everyone's been making fun of, like, Andrew Spidey. They're like, he's the only one who doesn't have, like, you know,
something
like
iconic.
A girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a girlfriend because they're all his dead.
The only thing that I would caution against that, I love the idea because I think Spider-Gwen is a great character. I wonder though, I think she's also too popular a character because I don't see Emma Stone keeping the role. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but she could just be like, you know, there's so many different universes. It could just be a quick little like. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see.
No, I mean, it's a great idea.
Unless they bring her back from the dead. But
under their new rules, they could have her cameo, and then someone else could play Spider-Gwen later.
Right, because it's a multiverse.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sony might be like, you know, be careful what you wish for here, because they've got like 1,000 people supposedly in this movie, and then, you know, look at what's happening on the Marvel side. They're kind of rethinking their strategy of like getting everyone and the kitchen sink into a movie, and then having them sue us later over contracts and our release agreements. Well, you mentioning Emma Stone made me think about that.
Yeah. Well, at least they settled their beef with Scarlett Johansson, and she's like, I'm excited to work with Disney again. So
yes, as they should.
And they're probably, honestly, if I was Disney, I'd be like, we're not working together anymore.
Well, especially if you were
Here's
Disney,
Brittany,
because you hate Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Yes,
and that's probably what's going to happen.
I'd be like, you got your money. We are no longer a creative partnership. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Well, let's dig into the multiverse, but before we do, let's take a break, and on the other side of the break, we are going to jump headfirst into the multiverse and the badass Watcher Vision fight that we got in the latest episode of What If. So stick around, and we'll come back and talk about What If. Hard NOC Life is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Are you a below-the-waist groomer, Dominic?
I am now. I didn't have the proper tools before. I really like this Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. I also like the nose hair trimmer and the ear hair trimmer, that thing. I don't know if that has a name.
The Weed Whacker.
Yeah, the Weed Whacker.
I also really like that Weed Whacker from Manscaped. It's good stuff.
The Weed Whacker is good.
Yeah.
The Weed Whacker is good.
And all kidding aside, like, there is such a thing as ashy balls. Should we talk about that? I mean, it's not talked about that much, but you can have ashy balls, and it's a problem. If you don't have, like, specific tools just deal with that problem, it's a problem that gets uncared for. So good on things like Manscaped's lawnmower and their products, which layer on after the shaving and will treat the ashy ball problem. Because otherwise, that's a weird. I mean,
Because moisturizing is important. I'm sorry. You gotta moisturize all your body.
I think it's great that men and male presenting people should take care of their nether regions, and Manscaped is providing the tools to do such, including the Lawnmower 4.0, which is their brand new 4th generation trimmer. This upgraded trimmer includes a multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to run at 4000K LED spotlight when you need more precision in your shaving. I've never had a shaver with its own headlight, and that was really cool.
That thing is cool. It feels like you're really exploring the deep, dark parts of yourself, like a little submarine. So yeah, on all the design levels, that Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped is a pretty cool device. It has
well designed.
Has a sort of spaceship aesthetic, and it does precision work, and it's got a headlight.
And you don't need to plug it in anything. It comes with a base. You just drop it in the base, and you're ready to go for the next time in the shower to take it with you, because it's also waterproof. And
in my opinion, the Manscaped toner and deodorant also smells really nice. I think their toner and deodorant smells nice.
Yeah, you want moisturized and, well-smelling bits, so use it.
Use
Utilize
it. Your balls will thank you.
Yes. I will thank you.
Remember to get 20% off if you use the code HARDNOC, HARDNOC, as in Nerds of Color, and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and order a lawnmower, a weed whacker, some deodorant, whatever you like. You get 20% off and free shipping using the code HARDNOC. That's HARDNOC. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yeah, use the hard knock so you can get hard knocked later.
Nice.
True. So true.
And we're back. So the multiverse wasn't just in Venom this week. The most recent episode of What If, we were talking about how they're all standalone, and it's just like, it's really nice how they don't connect. Well, guess what? This episode of What If is like setting up that multiverse Avengers that you've been talking about all season, Brittany. What did we think of the episode What If Ultron Won?
I really like this one.
Yeah.
I like the ones where the bad guys win and there's just a couple of the non-powered heroes left over and everything's bad. They did this in Justice League, they did this in various Avengers stories. It's a great story, and it kind of revisits some of the moments just from the Avengers movies with Ultron, who's always a great villain. The Age of Ultron was a mixed bag, but I'm glad to see Ultron again.
And this was a way more threatening and terrifying Ultron than what we got in the live-action movie. Because, truth be told, that's probably my least favorite MCU movie is Age of Ultron. I don't like that. That's the one I never revisit. Like, I think I've seen Dark World more times than I've seen Age of Ultron. The only thing I like...
That's crazy.
I know, right? Because the only scene I like in Age of Ultron is when they're hanging around the Avengers Tower trying to lift Thor's hammer. Like, that's the only scene I like.
Yeah.
Everything else in that movie I don't like.
That's cute as hell.
I like parts of that movie.
That's true.
I just love Aaron Taylor Johnson. So
well, he's going to be Kraven now, so there you go.
I know.
But Ultron himself was not a villain that I cared for in that movie. I didn't find him threatening. I just thought he was like James Spader's voice acting was. I don't know. I didn't buy it. That said, holy God, and James Spader is not voicing Ultron in What If. It's Ross Marquand. Yeah. From Walking Dead, he's basically the MCU go-to whenever the famous actor doesn't want to come back, they go to Ross Marquand.
Well, because he's really good at
he's
doing,
an impressionist.
different people's... Yeah, he's really good at it, crazy good at it.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised that they picked him, because he sounded really good.
Yeah, no, he's great. And so this version of Ultron is essentially, the premise is, remember that Vision was created in the movie to be Ultron. Like, Vision wasn't Vision. The only reason... he became this virtuous hero is because Jarvis was uploaded into the body that Ultron created. But in this premise, Ultron succeeds and puts his consciousness in Vision, which now gives Ultron the powers of the Mind Stone, and essentially, basically, he makes him unstoppable. He kills all the Avengers, nukes the planet,
kills Thanos.
Kills
Let's talk
Thanos,
about
which shows that, like,
Yeah.
damn, like, all this time, like,
half.
remember when Okoye was like, you know, about Wanda? She was there this whole time. Like, Vision was there this whole time. If he wasn't injured in Infinity War, he could have killed Thanos like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he slices him in half and collects the rest of the Infinity Stones. I will say, like, there's a bit of a... I mean, I don't want to be that guy who's, like, plot holes, but, like, how did that Thanos show up with all the Infinity Stones already when, you know... But, that doesn't matter. It was a cool scene where he shows up and Vision's like, oh.
He found them in the drawer.
Well, that's the other plot hole, is how is...
Oh, God. I didn't mean this really started.
Well, no, but how is... So, I mean, there are a couple questions, right? Like, so essentially, Ultron gets the rest of the Infinity Stones, becomes the Infinity Ultron that we saw at the end of the Thor episode last week. Mm-hmm. And and my favorite scene is when he's destroyed the entire universe. He's destroyed Xandar, he's destroyed Ego, the Living Planet. He basically, like, runs roughshod across all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Mm-hmm. And then he's done. He did what Thanos couldn't do. He killed the entire universe. And he's just, like, chilling on a meteor, like, oh, I guess I'm done. And the whole time, Uatu is narrating. And this is my favorite scene. I think this is my favorite scene all season.
It's a great moment.
Vision just kind of, like, looks back. I was like, who said that? It was such a great scene. And apparently he's achieved, like, cosmic awareness that he can now hear the Watcher as the Watcher. And it just made me think, like, oh, so the Watcher is, like, narrating in real time.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he does a lot of talking. He talks through the movie constantly. Every movie.
Right.
I don't know. I really liked it because, like you said, when he just turns around and then he ends up going through the prism thing that he's in, where he can watch, like, all the different universes. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that fight scene between them was just, oh my god, it was so good.
Yeah.
Watch your armors up and everything. One thing I really like about this episode is just conceptually it makes Ultron just a very scary character, because, like, if you think about, like, we talk about the multiverse all the time, and, like, the kind of the comfort of the multiverse is that, like, anything's possible. We're at a remove from it. If this universe dies, there's another universe where this other thing happened. What we don't really think about the reverse of that is that if there was a guy who could just cruise through multiverses, like a sweet man type character who can appear ever, that's fucking horrifying. That means Ultron is just waiting to come in here and fucking decimate us all. There is no escape.
You're right.
We're not safe in our universe where nothing happens. What if Ultron's just out there? It's very scary for a moment in that sort of Hall of Mirrors way when they're bouncing through, and it's like, oh, fuck, one of these facets could be my little life where I think superheroes don't exist.
And that was really, like I said, why this version of Ultron is probably the most terrifying Marvel villain ever, right? Like, to your point, like, he can jump into any universe and destroy it. And it does lead to questions as, you know, it doesn't lead to questions about how Ultron is able to, like, use the powers of the Infinity Stones in different universes, because we saw that in Endgame. Like, they took Infinity Stones from other universes and they still worked in the context of, like, their powers were still the same. It was Loki that fucked that whole thing up when they were like, oh no, these are just paperweights. At least in the TVA it doesn't work.
Yes, but because that's, like, in a little pocket where you don't need those.
And, you know, who knows? Maybe that's where the climax of What If takes place, in the TVA, so they can neutralize Ultron and bring... Because
Could be.
To be fair, like, I love T'Challa, I love Peggy, I love Dark Doctor Strange. I don't know how the fuck they're going to fight against Ultron with all the Infinity Stones. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's why I wonder if, like, maybe that fight is what's going to break the multiverse, and that's the event that kind of causes everything to come together. So that means that would have to happen at the same time as, like, the Spider-Man announcement is going on, and the same time as both Wanda and Loki do what they do. Like, that all has to happen simultaneously for them to all then be on the same plane. That's what I'm thinking.
yeah.
It already happened several weeks ago, that night when the Spider-Man trailer came out. Did you feel it? There was a ripple. That was everything breaking.
And, you know, and it was very funny. That was the only trailer that played a spider or a superhero movie. That was the only one that played before Venom.
Right.
Because, you know how, like, because when I saw Shang-Chi, they played both Spider-Man and Eternals, but this one they didn't show Eternals. They just showed Spider-Man. So I was like, interesting.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone knew going into Venom that it was going to tie this directly into Spider-Man, right?
I knew because Tom Holland ruined it.
Well, that's Tom Holland. That's his, like, lot in
he
life.
literally posted, like, I haven't seen Venom yet, but I wonder what's gonna happen. I'm like, you fucker. I was so mad. I was like, he's in this movie somewhere. I just don't know where. So I was like, oh, this motherfucker.
Well, you know, but
And then-
like, I think everyone assumed there would be some kind of, like, cheeky nod to Spider-Man. I don't think anyone knew it was going to be, like, direct, oh, no, we're in the MCU now. You know what I mean? Like, that's the mind-blowing, like, game-changing thing.
Yeah, they were literally, like, transported into the MCU. And then the thing is, that scene was shot where it looked like it's someone who does, like, color grading and all that, usually for the MCU, because it looked like that, too. So I was like, who shot this scene? Is it John Watts? Just because I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, and you know, Andy Serkis has ties to the MCU too, right? Like, he is Clow in the MCU. So, like, you know, it's all coming together. It's all connected, as they used to say way back in the day.
Yes.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And what if is another example of how, like, it kind of, you know, was just supposed to be one-offs here and there. Although, again, a little bit ruined in the trailer for the series when they showed that Avengers shot, so we knew something was going to bring us together. I thought, honestly, it was like they're going to fight that giant Cthulhu monster from the first episode. You know, I thought that's what they were going to unite against, but no, I think they're uniting against fucking Ultron now, because the Watcher was shook. Did you see him, like, when he was like, oh my god, I have no idea what to do. He was freaking out, like, hovering over Hawkeye, like, you're almost there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great epic closer for What If, and I think it would be a really good bit of synchronization in their, you know, in their Uber plots if they managed to make the What If finale, like, tie into, you know, where you say some, you know, cataclysmic, significant universe messing event, because that means, well, A, it means you had to watch the cartoon too to follow and everything, but B means these things are all, like, lined up in a certain way to inform each other. And I got the thought of that in the way, like, oh, here it's Hawkeye again. Oh, Jeremy Renner's actually voicing him. They want to keep it in the mix. We remember that he's still Hawkeye for the next TV series that's coming up. All this to say, I still have no idea how the Eternals fits into this grand narrative either, but that'll be part of the fun surprise.
Yeah, both Eternals and the Hawkeye show, I'm kind of like, how is this going to fit exactly?
I mean, that's a little bit of the gift and the curse of the multiverse too, right? Is that, like, if it all matters, then kind of none of it matters. You know what I mean? Like, what is the... Or even with Shang-Chi, like, now you like, welcome to this greater universe. But then, like, people who don't like Simu Liu and Awkwafina can be like, well, can we have a multiverse where they're not the characters? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you open yourself up to all of these kind of, like, recastings and everything, which is...
I know that Marvel wanted to do that so that they don't have, like, people locked into long contracts anymore. So, like, I feel like the multiverse isn't going to go away just so that they can, just in case there's someone who wants to be recast, they can do it without it being, like, you know, an FU type of situation. You know what I mean? I think that's why they're doing that.
Which is kind of cool how, like, in What If, they, like, we talked about this before, like, they went and put Cheadle into Iron Man where it was Terrence Howard. They put Ruffalo into Incredible Hulk where it was Edward Norton. So, like, they're even kind of subtly hinting at, like, all, like, the Iron Man movie we watched was just an alternate universe where there was a different Rhodey. Everything just happened to play out the exact same way, except Rhodey was different. Incredible Hulk, different multiverse. Everything played out exactly the same. It's just the guy is different.
It's important to remember, a lot of these multiverses, there's only one boring thing that's different. You know, they're not all like... They're not all, like, huge diversional things. There's one just, like, you know, where I have a Prius instead of a Volvo, and that's the only, like, different...
I mean, when you have infinite Earths to steal a phrase from the other guys, it can be anything. And again, that's the... Like I said, it's a gift and a curse, right? The gift is you can open up storytelling into so many different ways, which is, again, the irony of it all is, like, that was always my advice to DC when they were struggling to bring their universe under one cinematic, you know, style and everything, and unable to do that. And it was just like, just embrace the multiverse. And they're like, okay, we'll do it with Flash. And now they're getting beat to the punch by Marvel. Because, like, now the term multiverse, which was a DC term, I think DC came up with the idea of multiverse long before Marvel ever used multiverse. Like, it was so synonymous with DC. But now, for like, casual fans across the world, the word multiverse is a Marvel. I think DC fans are just like they're just shit out of luck no matter what they do. It's
Somewhere
like,
in the old school.
I feel like DC fans have every right to be mad that MCU is kind of taking up everything, but at the same time, it's like Marvel took so long to build up to what DC already had,
Yeah.
and it's like Warner Brothers / DC kind of failed them their own like selves, because like you had the rights to all of your characters from the beginning. You could have done your multiverse stuff from the beginning, but you only thought like people only care about Superman and Batman,
Right.
so those were the only characters you were putting out for so long. And then, you have Marvel, especially when Marvel Studios started, they're like, well, we only have the rights to so many characters, so let's just do this. And now look at where, Disney, of course, had a lot to do with it, and corporations.
but it forces you to be more creative. Like I always said,
But, yeah.
the parallel in DC was the CW, right? They didn't have
Mm-hmm.
access to the big guns. They couldn't use Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They only had like the Flash and Green Arrow were equivalent to Iron Man and Thor
Mm-hmm.
and Captain America in 2008. And so like we're left with Green Arrow, we're left with Flash.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do with these characters? And they built up this infinite Earths. Like they were the first to do the multiverse, right? They did Crisis.
Yeah.
They built
on
the
TV.
shit out of that Green Arrow world. That went a lot
Right.
of places. Yeah. Just like a guy with
Yeah.
some arrows.
It did, yeah.
And it got to a point where like Warner Brothers was like, okay, you can use Superman now, you can use Batman now, you know what I mean? And it was like,
Yeah.
it showed them that starting with these like lesser known characters, it forces you to be more creative. And that's what Marvel proved in 2008. Like, we can't use Spider-Man, we can't use the X-Men, we just have these leftovers. And they built this universe that were now like, the people who own Spider-Man, the people who own X-Men were like, oh, you can use them now, right? And that's where like DC was spoiled. You didn't know what you
X-Men
had.
was a little different.
Right. I mean, we still don't know what the Kevin Feige X-Men or Kevin Feige Fantastic Four looks like, but everyone has an idea that it's going to be dope no matter what, right? Like that's the advantage that they have. And meanwhile, DC is like again behind the punch because sure they did it on TV, but no one respects TV. Like no one ultimately puts the CW Arrowverse next to the MCU. So, like, their big thing is now with this Flash movie coming out next year, are they able to use... And to your point, Brittany, it's just their way of, like, bringing in old Batman, which, again, just brings Batman to the front again, which, we have plenty of Batmans in our movie verse.
Exactly. And, I mean, I'm really excited to see if they have, like, Robert Pattinson Batman and... Michael Keaton team up. I don't really care about what's his name. Sorry,
Batfleck.
No, what's the other guy's name?
Bale, Christian Bale.
Yes, yeah, him.
Yeah. Well, he's another person usurped by the Marvel.
So
yeah, he's in the MCU now. But I don't really care to see his Batman return just because he's like my least favorite Batman out of all of the Batmans. That includes George Clooney. But yeah, that's what the more thing I'm looking forward to the Flash movie is that. But I don't know. Yeah, I do feel like even though they were planning this movie first, but because they kept pushing this movie back, like, Marvel's beat them to the punch, and it's just, it's sad because, like, there are good DC characters for, like, someone who's a hardcore MCU fan who has not ventured out to DC. There's good DC stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good DC stuff out there, but...
And to be fair, DC has been, at least, they've been known to make announcements and just never follow through on it. Like, the Cyborg movie was supposed to come out last year.
In
At this point,
universe,
right?
we already have a Cyborg movie and like 3 Aquaman
at one point.
movies.
And Ray Fisher isn't, estranged from DC. But, they've announced a Batgirl movie. They've announced a Blue Beetle movie. I mean, of course, they're all, like, segregated to HBO Max, unfortunately. But
I know.
It's like, it's
really
a bad look when, like,
this.
all of your people of color superheroes are on HBO Max. It's like... Can you put one of them in the... I mean, although, who knows where we are is, everything might still be streaming 2 or 3 years from now when we're at the Omega variant that Darkseid unleashes on the world. So
yeah, it's a funny car wreck experience watching the continuing confusion on the DC side. And I think part of it, they don't have a plan. They don't have as good an Excel spreadsheet as Marvel does. or whatever. But partially they bring it on themselves because, no disrespect to your shirt, they just keep doing the Batman thing over and over again. Like every time like a Batman movie comes out and it's like, oh, we're announcing another version of Batman is being greenlit. It's like, well, that's super imaginative. Yes, you don't really have a big plan.
They can't even at least give us like Batman Beyond, and that's what
slip that in there
me.
somewhere.
Where's Terry McGinnis?
So we're all in a repeating cycle of anticipating the first Batman movie again. And don't get me wrong, the Batman looks like a really cool movie, but I know I've done this before in my head.
Yeah, it really does.
I know I've. Oh, Batman Begins looks like it's gonna be a really cool movie. Like, what the fuck do you want from us? We've done this 5 times now.
every 10 years you get it. You do it again.
Yeah. Oh my
right?
gosh, this is a new take on just on our forever Batman movie, which has none of the creative deviation that the Spider-Man series is at least trying to do.
Yeah, I know. And then there's someone who's like, well, they've had so many Spider-Mans, but not as many Batman, because you literally have, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson now, Christian Bale.
And if you throw in all the TV ones, you got the kid from Gotham, you got Ian Glenn now on Titans playing Bruce Wayne.
Yes, which I feel like Ian Glenn is still Alfred to me.
Sure.
But
I mean, he's aged up Adam West. Like that's how in my headcanon, the Titans universe is the old Adam West universe. Like Brendan Thwaites is Burt Ward, just grown up, and Ian Glenn. He very much looks like an older if Adam West was, dark and gritty, I guess. But anyway, Titans has been really good this season.
And then Kevin Conroy has actually played live action Batman for Infinite Earth. So there has been like way more Batmans in live action
there's a shit ton of
than
Batman.
Spider-Man before like anyone says like, oh, well, Marvel keeps rebooting Spider-Man. But like, I don't know. There's just so many other characters other than them.
Batman's the best though. So there you go.
I love Batman.
Batman is.
As
much as we're complaining, we're gonna be.
I love Batman.
We're gonna be there opening night when the Batman opens. Anyway,
but I like Batgirl.
So
more.
the multiverse. Yeah, well, and
at this point,
the have you been watching Titans? Titans is completely.
I'm behind, but I watched the first 2 seasons, and it's a really good show.
They've rewritten the whole Batgirl origin in this season of Titans. It's really interesting. It's really fascinating.
I haven't watched yet. That's another thing I watch with my mom that I can't watch without her.
Because I was looking at the
we haven't started
at the promo
yet.
for the DC fandom, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I was trying to figure out when is that the Batgirl suited up in Titans, or is she the one from the video game? I couldn't quite tell. She kind of suits up. Right?
Well, Batgirl in Titans isn't Batgirl. She's actually Barbara Gordon is Commissioner Gordon.
Oracle? Oh, okay.
Because her father is dead in that universe. Spoilers if you haven't watched Titans. Sorry.
Okay.
But she's basically playing an Oracle-like Commissioner Gordon because she's in a wheelchair. But they have flashbacks. A couple of episodes back, they showed like flashbacks of her life pre-injury.
Yeah.
Which is interesting too, because like the actress playing her is herself a disabled actress, but she's able to play outside the wheelchair because she has a prosthetic leg in real life that she normally uses. But she plays an Oracle like, and I think they even reference the word Oracle, although it's not her code name. It's like a software she uses. And so just quick spoiler for like episode 6, I think, of Titans this season, which is like 3 weeks ago. It turns out that she does at some point become Batgirl because she mentions it. She references it in the first episode of this season.
I thought she puts on the suit at some point.
I don't think they haven't seen her. At least I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm behind. But she is a Catburg. She's basically Catwoman when they flash back. Her and Dick go on like a crime spree. Not because they're, villains, but because she's like, my dad sucks, and I'm just trying to keep him on his toes, so I'm gonna steal all this shit. It's really, it's interesting, but it's kind of like, when is she gonna be Batgirl? Anyway, all that said, I'm looking forward to the Leslie Grace Batgirl movie.
Me too. She was really great in The Heights, and then I'm also really looking forward to
Black Canary.
Journey's show. And I don't remember how to say the boy's name, but the kid from Cobra Kai, like,
as Jaime.
Is it Joti? I don't know, but
he's playing Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I'm really
Blue
looking forward to that because he's so great on Cobra Kai. So
Blue Beetle's
I
awesome.
really want to see
Yeah, I mean
I really wanna
they've
see that do
announced
well.
all of these projects. I mean, who knows where we actually end up with them? I mean, the only movies that we know we're getting is Shazam 2 because they've wrapped up
I
filming.
loved the first one.
Aquaman
I'm
2,
excited.
they've wrapped filming on that. So like the Rock's Black Adam movie, like we are getting DC movies. I think the one good thing about not having a master plan is that it goes back to like just, you know, each director has his or her own vision for their movies, which can be good, can be bad, but that was always what set DC apart from Marvel too, is that like,
Yeah.
you know, Zack Snyder has his vision for superheroes. Chris Nolan had his vision for superheroes. Patty Jenkins has her own vision. So like, it was very much more auteur driven on the DC side, whereas Marvel, you know, as great as the directors that they've brought in, they've been bringing in more auteur-like directors, you know, to be fair. But it was, you know, when you think Marvel, you think Kevin Feige.
I give a slight eye roll to that because I think that is based. DC favored the old-fashioned, pretentious auteur filmmakers, which is
Right.
what got them into trouble.
Sure.
And Marvel favored a kind of director who is just more actor-friendly.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
what
that's true.
what I'd say to that. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
But that's 100%, because like the whole reason DC was unable to create a cinematic universe, even though they had these billion-dollar Batman movies, is because Chris Nolan was like, "These are my toys."
Yeah,
No one else can
they're
play with
very
these.
much like these are my toys, and
Right?
yeah, they're only filmed the way I want my toys filmed.
Right. And so that's why we were, you know, it was like, can we bring Christian Bale into Man of Steel? No, these are mine. You can't have them. Right? And you know, now Nolan doesn't even work for Warner Brothers. He's like, fuck Warner Brothers. They're putting everything on HBO Max. I'm going to Universal.
Good luck with
But
that.
anyway, that's that on that. And that's Hard Knock Life. What's been nerd popping for you guys this week?
I started Midnight Mass,
Oh,
which
I've heard
I'm
good
a huge
things.
fan of, like the Mike Flanagan Netflix like one-off series that he does. I haven't finished it, so no spoilers. Don't tweet me any spoilers, but it's really fun so far. I don't know. I really like his take on like, because he doesn't do like in your face scary stuff, but he really just like the way they build the stories on the shows are so good. I'm really looking forward to finishing out the show. Yeah, it's really cool. It's interesting.
Yeah. I've
So
heard
definitely
nothing but
check
good things
out-
about it.
I would check out all the other ones too, like Haunting of Hill House is really, really good. I love Oliver Cohen Jackson. I think that's how you say his name, or that's the order of his name. I think he's the one who should have been Moon Knight because he's actually Egyptian and Jewish. But
Yeah.
I would love to see him like somewhere in this superhero universe. If it's not going to be, obviously it's not Moon Knight now, unless they multiverse it. But yeah, no, I would really love to see him show up somewhere. I think he'd be a really great addition to like the MCU. He's so good, and he's not in Midnight Mass, by the way. He's on the other two shows,
Right.
but he's really great.
Awesome. Dominic, what's nerd popping?
Oh, not exactly nerd popping, but under the category of Marvel minutiae. That's fun to talk about. Like, the thing I saw on Twitter that I liked was whether X-Men should be called the X-Men anymore. Do you read this? Because, like, supposedly, Victoria Alonso is one of the big producers in the MCU now. I forget their titles. It doesn't really matter except to indicate that they're in charge of more and more shit. And also, I don't think it's a good idea for Feige to be in charge of the comic book side. But that has nothing to do with anything. The one funny Twitter thing was people talking about whether the title X-Men is inclusive enough and should be changed for the future movies, which I think is one of those funny things that people will get real excited about until you realize there are many other X teams which don't have any gender, anything in them. And you could just call them that. I like X Factor a lot. I don't really like X Force, but fine.
And I wonder how much of that was like driven by like trolls too, like the kind of like, anti-gender expression trolls. Because I'm sure there was some conversation around the inclusivity of the term X-Men. But at the same time, I think like to your point, like how it bubbled up into the algorithm was a lot of like, SJWs,
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to credit it as
yeah.
a real actual thing. However, but in this particular case, it's actually worth talking about because it would be fine if they change it from X-Men. Because X-Men, unlike the Avengers, yes, X-Men is a brand, but you could get away with not having the word X-Men in there because it's all about the individual characters. You can get away with a movie called Wolverine. So on that little language point, I think, change it to freaking X-Force.
Or just mutants, right?
That's on that.
The mutants. The new
Come on.
mutants.
Mutants.
And she makes a good joke about it in Dark Phoenix. There's that's one of Mystique's one very funny bits in Dark Phoenix which they're like, well, women do all the work around here going to save the space shuttles and whatnot. Maybe they should think about changing the name, and I think they should. Anyway, Keith, yourself.
So we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week because we had the Shang-Chi guys on, but you mentioned Fandom is coming up, but we're in the aftermath of Netflix's similar fan experience. It was called Tudum or something, Tudum. I'm not exactly sure. Tudum? What is Oh, Tudum. Is that supposed to be the sound?
The sound when you
That's stupid.
The Netflix sound. That's awesome.
It's stupid but smart.
I disagree.
I'm still mad that Netflix has not renewed Julie and the Phantoms for a season 2.
Yeah, I know. My daughter. I watched
show.
that with my daughter last year.
It's great. It's so good. I've seen the show 5 times. I love it. It's so good. Renew
So
it.
Tudum, now
Sorry.
I feel so stupid, had all of these announcements and trailer drops and everything a week ago of their upcoming slate of Netflix stuff. And the 2 ones that I'm most excited for, there was a Sandman trailer, which looks dope. You should check it out as soon as you can. And, we're just talking about like all of the DC properties. It's wild to me though that like the Sandman is on Netflix and not HBO Max. Like, you're slipping, HBO Max. This is your one place to put all of your DC Comics content, but...
Well, they're like the Vertigo, right?
Right.
They're slightly removed.
I guess so, but still. Come on, HBO Max. Fucking HBO Max. Anyway, the other thing that I found that I was really excited for, Netflix is known to not have shows go on multiple seasons. Like, they're really good at, like, canceling you after 1 or 2 seasons. Julie and the Phantoms, to your point.
Don't put that negative energy out. They're gonna do it. They have to. Kenny Ortega won't let me down. He gave me Hocus Pocus 2.
Stranger Things has made it to season 4, and they dropped the first trailer for the 4th season of Stranger Things. Yes. And wow, I wasn't sure about the show anymore, to be honest, because it's one of those things where it's like, the kids have all aged out of their cuteness. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Macaulay Culkin thing. Like, there's an aspect of, like, it's kind of,
I don't think they're...
No, I'm not saying that, but, like, now they're all fucking adults now, basically, right? Like, it loses the luster of, like, seeing a bunch of, like, 10-year-olds on bikes, and it's become like, oh, these are just like everybody else now. Well, they're teenagers. They're all teenagers. I mean, like, now. when Dustin and Steve are the same height, it's just kind of like, oh, that's right. They're all the same. Anyway, that's not my point. The point is, this season looks fucking scary as shit, because...
yes, I feel like they upped the
Because the other thing about Stranger Things is that, like, yes, it's very much, nostalgic for early 80s Stephen King, and Stephen King is scary, but, like, Stranger Things I never felt was, like, super horror, right? Am I wrong to think that? Like...
Yeah, no, I don't think that... I think that they had suspense, but I don't think it was, like, horror, and I feel like that trailer was very, like, creepy, and I was like, oh, this is new. I kind of like this.
Yeah, this season is oriented around the Creel house, which is, I guess, like it's very much like a haunted house sense, and they've cast Robert Englund to play the modern version of the Mr. Creel, I guess, who is, we see the family kind of like they're in this like haunted house, although I guess instead of a ghost haunting it, I think it's some mind flayer type.
Yeah.
What is it called?
The Demigorgon, right?
Demigorgon, right? Shit, I've lost. It's been so long since I've seen Stranger Things. So, I mean, sure, that's got something to do with the Upside Down. But anyway, Stranger Things Season 4, they didn't announce when it's coming out, but it's coming out. It's October, it's the spooky season, and that trailer is spooky as hell. And I'm excited for it now. And I'm not a big horror person, as you know, Brittany. I'm a huge fan of horror, but I was very intrigued by just how much they're leading into the horror aspect with this season of Stranger Things. And I'm a little kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to watch it because I get scared real easy.
I watched in the daytime. That's how I've been watching Midnight Mass. I only watch, like, if it's the first time I'm seeing something, I will watch in the day. The only reason why I watch Fear Street at night is because I'm like, I read most of these books. I'm familiar with this universe. I should be fine. They definitely leaned, the Fear Street ones are much more like Scream movies versus like more like supernatural. Well, there's some supernatural elements, but they're more like Scream movies than like anything for the Fear Street.
Have you seen Sweet Man yet? You know, it's out on digital. You can just watch it at night in front of a mirror.
Oh, no. I'll probably watch it in
Multiple
the daytime.
times.
Like, that's how I am. If it's the first time
Very
I'm
far
seeing
away from
something-
any reflective surfaces, right?
Yeah. I usually watch, like, stuff, like, first time if it's, like, a horror film, like, in the daytime.
Oh,
But-
there you go.
Yeah, and also Hulu has a really good, like, indie selection if you're looking for some spooky movies to watch, like, and not just during Halloween, but, like, they have, like, good stuff all the time.
Yeah, trust
to
me.
watch.
As a kid, like I used to avoid horror movies like the plague when I was little. I did not. I mean, I was so scared of Michael Jackson's Thriller video that when the song came on, I would like scream and tell my cousin to turn it off.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't deal with like zombies
That's
as a kid.
Me
funny.
too.
Yeah, I was real bad.
You're not
with
alone
horror.
there, Keith.
I was-
Just specifically
that-
through the Thriller video.
Yeah.
MJ Deep Cut.
Thriller didn't scare me as a kid, but the first time I saw Nightmare Before Christmas, that scared me.
Oh wow.
That too.
Like, I thought Thriller was cool, but, like, Nightmare Before Christmas, the first time I saw it scared me, and then, like, the second time I saw it, I'm like, why was I so scared?
Yeah, well, I couldn't handle, and so like I know everyone loves it's October, it's spooky season, but the thing I used to dread the most when I was a kid is that October always meant the Halloween episodes, and it was like I remember there was like a Different Strokes episode that was set around Halloween that was like scared me. Like a Punky Brewster episode was real scary.
no.
Like I don't even remember why they were scary, but anyway, I was just like, oh, everything is like scary now. I hate it, but I was a little punk as a kid, I guess. Anyway, that's Hard NOC Life. How can people find you on the internet, Brittany? Before I reveal more embarrassing things
it's
about my
okay to be
childhood.
scared by Halloween. It's not a manliness issue.
No, it's not about manliness. I was just like, I was scared about. It was just a scary. It's funny, like Walking Dead desensitized me to zombies because
Yeah. No.
up until like I started watching Walking Dead, I couldn't fuck with zombies. Like zombies for whatever reason scared the shit out of me. And then Walking Dead was just like, oh, no, zombies.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about zombies anymore. And you know that's the other funny
Yeah,
thing.
they're just
Again,
like grapes. Just
yeah, it's like everywhere now, and that like just regular ass commercials. There's like zombies with their like flesh falling off their face, and it's like a Geico commercial. And I would think to myself like, man, if I was like 5 years old and that commercial came on like back in like 1980 whatever, I'd be like traumatized. Like it's on regular ass TV. At least Thriller came on MTV at night. You know what I mean? Like it never was just like
Yeah.
2:00 in the afternoon and there's a fucking zombie on TV.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I think everyone's desensitized to zombies. Like,
yeah, because
Probably.
yeah. Anyway, sorry, Brittany.
No, it's okay.
How can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Hi Brittany Monet on Twitter, and you can also follow at Naomi Podcast. Oh, excuse me. To get all the other podcasts that I do, basically.
Awesome, Dominic.
I'm at Dom Ma on Instagram or Twitter, DOMMAH, and my YouTube channel is called melancholyball.com.
Find me on Twitter at @TheRealChow, _real_Chow, and on Instagram at RealKeithChow. Follow the Nerds of Color on all platforms and go to hardknockmedia.com to find this and all the podcasts in the Hard NOC family. Give us a like and a review on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. That's how people find the podcast. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Nerds of Color. Follow us, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and until next time.
I will eat Keith's brains,
No, please don't.
but in a nice way.
This is the Hard NOC Life, but not the chicken kind, more like the people.